Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. Today, I would like to talk about something I have noticed that many of my wellness leaders and also landowners of boutique properties fall into. They fall into this trap of what I call the sunken cost. And today I want to talk about why staying in that trap, staying put wherever you are, be it you, a wellness leader in a property or a role that you've long outgrown, or if you have a wellness offering in your property that has stopped giving you the results that you hoped for, staying put and leaving things as is actually costing you more. And that all comes down to the concept of sunken cost. So here is how I see this play out. Let's take, for example, those wellness leaders who want to become a consultant and they're clear about it. Here is what I usually see. So you've poured everything into your current role. So your time, your energy, your creativity, and you have trained teams, built systems, and you've also saved projects at times. And you have become that person everyone turns to when things go wrong. And deep down, you know that where you are right now is not what you want. But you keep waiting because you've invested too much to walk away. And because you believe that if you hold on a little longer, the reward will come. So that promotion, a better title, and maybe even the dream job somewhere else. And this is what keeps many wellness leaders spinning their wheels in their current role, in a role that no longer serves them. And we tell ourselves that we need to be patient. But deep down, what we're doing is that we're paying a higher and higher price for staying exactly where we are in the same situation. And that's the sunken cost trap. And it is what keeps many of us stuck where we are. And just going back in my previous experiences as a wellness leader, I remember this position probably now. Good God, this is giving some clues out there about my age, but it's probably maybe over 20 years ago. And I had grown up the ranks very quick in this particular organization. I had delivered amazing results. And then clearly, when you have a very quick growth, you normally also do plateau. You do need to actually learn your role, deliver more results, and mature into the positions you've been given. And I went past that phase and I kept waiting and waiting because there was one other position I did want to go up to and I was working towards it. And I kept on staying longer, working harder, taking all the courses, delivering all the results. And in my mind, I was doing everything I needed in order to one day get that job that I wanted, that title that I wanted. And then things suddenly changed in the company as things do. That title was suddenly made available. And I thought that I was the person who had been primed to take on that role. But somehow someone else got that role. And in my opinion, that person was not at all remotely qualified for that position. And on top of that, I don't even think she wanted it. She was just faced with the situation of taking on that role. And I'm not saying that she wasn't the right person for that role. Looking back now, 20 years later, it's a very different perspective and a different level of maturity that I look at that situation. But back then, I was distraught because I had waited so much in order to get that position. I had worked so hard. But deep down, I had always known that I had grown as quick as I could and as I had climbed as far as I could climb in this particular organization. And I sat there thinking, one more year. And I lots of opportunities did come my way. It was at the time where wellness was booming. And I kept saying no because I'd invested so many years and I had grown so quickly. And that was me staying on in a role that I was never, ever going to get. And I was turning down other roles to stay on in this particular company. And many of us have felt that situation where we've worked so hard to want to take on a position. And when that position has finally been made available, we aren't the people who get that role, someone else does. And when we're in that situation, we always think we're shortchanged, that we were the ones that were done wrong. And if we probably look back in time and we look backwards, we can sometimes understand why someone else was given the role. But when you are in it and living it, it's a very different scenario. And that also works for I've seen in my own business. So this is also speaking to you landowners or you boutique hotel owners when it comes to your wellness offering. I know that with my business, I have been so stubborn and so tenacious with one or two offers and programs that I have had in the past, but that I loved so much and I knew would help people, but then they never ever really took off. And I continued to be very tenacious, wanted to see it past the finish line because grit is not something I lack. And then I remember in one mastermind, this was several years ago now, the guy actually told me, he's like, Solina, I don't know anyone who can actually make this work. So I think there comes a point where you just park this aside or you put an end date and try something new. And I remember telling him, and what if I pivot? He said, you are going to be pivoting until the date of end. But I don't know how to tell you this. Take this as the sunk cost. Take the learning and create something new. This is several years ago. So this is the same thing I want to tell you guys. So you wellness leaders and even landowners out there, when you have something that isn't working, trust me, I'm the first one to say, try and see it past the finish line. But there also comes a moment where you have to know when to let go because you are serving no one, not yourself, not the situation, and you're not taking the learning you need to take in order to get to the next stage, be it with your wellness offering if you're the business owner, or if you're a wellness leader, you're not going to your next level of growth. So here is what I normally see happens when it comes to our wellness leaders. We always have this illusion of the next big job, the next big thing. And most of us stay where we are once we've really dialed in a role and a position and a job, not always because we are absolutely in love with our job, not saying that we don't love our work, but the underlying feeling is that we are almost there. We've got one other jump to do, one other thing to do. It's only human nature to want to strive for more. And we end up convincing ourselves that that next opportunity, so the dream role, the regional director role, the global director role, that pre-opening project that you need to know, that destination that you have not been to, will finally make all this waiting worth it. And we tell ourselves, once we get that role, things will change. Or once this hotel group expands, I'll have my chance. Or once I get noticed for all the amazing work I'm doing in this initiative, they will finally promote me. And we wait, and then we wait some more. But these roles either take forever to appear, or when they do, they rarely look like what we imagined them to look like. So the job titles might be shinier, but we're taking on far more responsibility. Or the pay is incredibly disappointing for what we're expected to be delivering. And the freedom that we're constantly chasing doesn't truly exist. And that's when it hits us that we have been waiting for someone else to give us the career we would have built for ourselves. So today, the three core ideas I want to talk about when it comes to the sunken cost trap, when it comes to the illusion of the next big opportunity, next big job. The three core ideas I want to talk about is, the first one is, we mistake loyalty for safety. So we tell ourselves that if we stay in the role we are actually stable. And some of us sometimes think that we owe the company because we've been there for such a long time. They've given us such fantastic opportunities. We also owe our team. We also owe our guests. But often, this loyalty, or what we call loyalty, is just fear. And it's that fear of starting over, the fear of losing that job security, the fear of what our peers will think if we step out on our own, the fear of stepping out on our own and then failing. And the truth is, safety never ever comes from holding on to something that we've long outgrown or that no longer serves us. It comes from knowing that you create your own opportunities anywhere and anytime. Now, I'd also like to make very clear, I am not advocating for you to not be loyal. I am always for loyalty. You can be loyal to your company, you can be loyal to your team, you can be loyal to your superiors, whoever you need to be loyal to. You can still be loyal to them. But it's also very important for you to be loyal to yourself. And if you have long outgrown a position, you're not being loyal to yourself. And you're definitely not being loyal to the people behind you when you are taking on a role that they would die for in their next level of growth. Because you're too scared to get out of this role and actually take the next step forward. So loyalty is not safety. The loyalty, when you're using loyalty in this context, it tends to be fear. And the second core idea I wanted to talk about is the true risk. And the real risk here is when you stay too long, when you outstay your welcome. And most people think that the risk is when they jump, when they take the leap, when they leave that fixed income each month. But the truth is, the real risk is in staying way too long. Because every year you stay where you no longer grow, you compound the cost. So the cost of burnout, the cost of income potential, the cost of the ideas you never act on, the cost of your own growth. And time compounds both ways. So it accelerates your progress, but it also deepens your drift, your indecision, your procrastination. And the longer you wait, the costlier, the harder, and the more risky it becomes to change your course. And the last idea I wanted to talk about is you can actually honor your past experience by redirecting it. Leaving your current role does not mean that you're throwing your entire career away. So, this is me thinking I had invested so many years, that story of 21 years ago, me investing so many years of working so hard, so much effort, so many courses, trying to make this particular business work out. And everything I did in order to actually get the role I wanted wasn't a waste. It was something I actually took with me in my next roles. So when everything you've done, so every single thing you've done, so the years of experiences, the lessons learned, the systems built, the contacts you've made, the network you've created, this actually becomes the foundation of your consulting career. And you need to know that you are not starting from scratch. You are basically repurposing your existing expertise into something that finally reflects the next stage of your growth. And when you become that consultant, you stop asking for permission to grow. You actually start designing your own path. And if this is you, if you have been telling yourself that the next big job will finally make it all worth it, all this effort, all this grind, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what is the real cost of waiting one more year, of procrastinating one more year, of not deciding for another year? Because while you wait for that so called perfect opportunity, someone else is already building their own. And the next round of the Wellness Consultant Blueprint opens in December. And it is where wellness leaders like you learn how to define your offer, to position yourself as the obvious choice, and to start signing clients without waiting for anyone else's permission. So you don't need to wait to be chosen for the next big role. You can go and create that role yourself. And I know today I have talked a fair amount for wellness leaders who are in this situation where they've invested so much in a certain role, and leaving this company or leaving all the work that you've done, all that effort you've done, just feels like you're throwing it away and you have to stay on longer. I see this also with business owners, boutique hotel owners, and their wellness offerings. So they started off with a wellness offering, the standard spa, gym, whatever concept they had, and it ended up growing organically. But the reality is they now have a situation that they spent so much in creating this particular facility that it's not giving them. And it's not giving them the return on investment they wanted, or it's not performing the way they had hoped. And when you sit down with them and try to make them see that really they've come as far as they can with this particular offering, and they actually need to overhaul that wellness offering, go back into investing into something new and creating something new, it becomes so overwhelming for them. They would rather stay in the status quo of a wellness operation that barely survives or is just managed, instead of taking that leap, overhauling and learning something new and providing their guests with transformative wellness experiences. So the idea of the sunken cost is real. We feel it in our businesses when we have invested so much time, so much money, so much effort in something that we truly desired and believed in. And when we don't see the results, we trick ourselves to say, we can wait just a bit longer. We can wait just a bit longer. This will pass. But the truth is, if you objectively evaluate where you are as a wellness leader or where your wellness business is right now, if nothing is changing, nothing will change unless something changes. So nothing changes if nothing changes. And we think it's a lot easier to be in a status quo situation, not lose any more money, but not going to the next level, because that's going to require more work, more investment, and the potential failure again, maybe. And what I want to invite everyone out there who's listening, whether you're a wellness leader or you're a business owner, if you have reached that point where you are not growing, your current role does not stimulate you, or your wellness offering is no longer performing the way you want it to, it is time to reconsider. It is time to put an end date. And it's time to rehaul what you've done. And you don't lose everything you've created. You actually take all that experience, that failure gold, with you to the next level. But what you can't do is stay holding on with your dear life on something that no longer serves you or is actually even serving your end client. So, on that thought-provoking note, I wish you all a beautiful day ahead. Take care now.